Exactly, as it should be, because I mean, they constitute the major part of the populace. That yes, in Nigeria, very important. All right, we'll start with the Punch newspaper. Has a lot of stories, so we'll be running really quickly. The major headline on the front page of the Punch: New Naira racketeering. EFCC to raid Lagos, Kaduna, Port Harcourt's currency hawkers. And then you have riders to that. CBN bars multiple debit card withdrawals, threatens stiffer sanctions. Emefiele meets reps, orders banks to accept old notes after deadline. Central Bank stops old notes payout. Commotion persists at ATM points. So there's a lot to take away from this particular one. First is, I'll go with the fact that finally the CBN governor has appeared before the House of Representatives. And there's a lot to take away from that particular one. Okay. No, yes. All right. So as it is now, the CBN is, while the CBN governor appeared before the House yesterday, one thing that he said that I don't know if how possible that is or how that's going to work, especially for the commercial banks, is that they have to continue to accept the old notes. Does it make sense, or is it possible that the banks have been saying they're not accepting the old notes? That they're the ones that are supposed to collect it for or mop it up. Isn't that what it's supposed to be?
Sandra, I think Emefiele now understands that. He didn't have a proper thought process as far as the implementation of the policy is concerned. Now, if you say this note is no longer a legal tender, but the banks can accept it, what does that tell you, Sandra?
Maybe they can accept, but they can't pay it out.
Okay, they can't pay it out, but they can accept it. So it means that it can still be in circulation for as long as when. So how effective would the mop-up be? If okay, after the deadline, when it's no longer illegal, that you can't pay it up, but you can accept it. I just think that, because when I listened to what he was saying yesterday, I can see that here is a man who understands that the whole thing has fallen flat in the face, or it's difficult for him to eat the humble pie and accept that's
just it.
The implementation is completely faulty.
Well, what he said quite a lot when he finally appeared before the House of Reps, addressing the House ad hoc committee on the Central Bank of Nigeria's cashless policy and also extend the time frame of the currency swap. He said a whole lot. He said he hopes that the Naira will get stronger with the implementation of the policy. And he said that and he also sought the consent of the president and also informed the EFCC, the ICPC, the NFIU to join in monitoring the flow of the currency to the people, highlighting the benefits of the policy. Now, he said, and I'm quoting, "We are beginning to see some of the benefits. Inflation last month somewhat trended. It was not stagnated. It was not rising. It was somewhat moderating, and we are thinking and expecting that it will moderate. The exchange rate was relatively stable, and what we are even hoping with this exercise is that the Naira can even get stronger. We have seen that with this, we are able to support the activities of our security agencies. I am happy, and I am sure we all know that the incidents of banditry and ransom taking have somewhat reduced at this time." Also, when the committee members asked him to respond to the failures of the policy and also the adverse effect or the adverse impact on the people and businesses, he parried on the questions, noting that he will provide reports to the committee. He didn't say anything.
He has no report.
He had nothing to say. So the CBN governor apologized to the committee for failing to answer the earlier summons that, when they called him. He apologized for all of that. But then I feel like, the crux of the matter, the main issue was not truly addressed at that hearing or at that appearance or hearing or whatever. I don't think it was truly addressed. The issue of how much did you guys print? How much did you give to the commercial banks? Why is it scarce outside? Why are people struggling to have access to their hard-earned money? I don't think all of that was discussed. It wasn't really, addressed. All it was just saying that, we hope that this would, So,
so the policy is hinged on hope. What I call a false hope. Again, sorry, Sandra, that I had to jump in.
No.
He talked about inflation. He talked about the stability of the dollar against the naira. He talked about a whole lot of things, hoping that whatever they are doing now was going to help in that regard. Again, we've always talked about it. There's no way you are going to hope that inflation will drop. The naira will firm up against the dollar only on monetary policy. We kept saying in Sandra, just like in recent times that have been increasing interest rates, hoping that it was going to stem the tide of inflation. And we say, look, those things will not happen. The best way to tackle inflation, the best way to firm up your naira, is to ensure that you do the right things. It's not just about the micro, but all of the macro indices that you have to look at. And until we fire up our industries, until we balance our balance of trade and do the right things, these things will not happen. Yes, I agree that, maybe this would have helped with the issue of ransom taking, banditry, and all of that. But for how long, how sustainable is all of these things? And I say again that I'm speaking for ordinary Nigerians. Are we all bandits? Are we all ransom takers? Like I said, there are some of us who just want to live our normal lives. We are normal business people. We need this small amount of cash here and there to do our daily transactions. And those are my worries. They're not the politicians who need billions of naira to do whatever. If it's going to affect them, fine. But I'm saying that, look, don't get ordinary Nigerians caught in the web of this confusion. They want to live their normal life. But like I said, people say, we are going to enjoy it, we are going to pass this phase. It's going to be one of those challenges that Nigerians face over the last 7.5 years, and of course, we are going to survive this. But I'm saying that, the destruction is getting too much. It's hinging on Nigerians. Sandra, I collected 10,000 naira from a POS operator yesterday, and she gave me the old note. But she charged me 600 naira to give me the 10,000 naira.
For old notes?
For old notes, not for new notes. The new notes are not even available.
Old notes? You're being charged more, even on old notes again?
Because she told me that to even get the old notes now is a problem. That's what she told me.
Oh, wow.
That to even get the old notes.
Even
and in fact, she even told me that she's not going to give me more than 10,000 of the old notes because she's rationing it. And so she has to charge me 600 naira for me to get 10,000 naira of the old notes. I asked her about it. You said the new are not even available in the banks at all. So when you see the queues in the banks, Sandra, it is not the queue for new notes. So it is even to get the old notes that are not even available.
Then let me just even withdraw any amount you give me.
Just of the old notes, so not
any of the designs. It's okay. All right. A very unfortunate situation that we have found ourselves. We have to be honest, and it's even more frustrating because you go to parties and you see this money is being sprayed all over the place. Makes it even more frustrating, and makes you question a lot of things. These commercial bankers, are they not seeing the situation? Are they not seeing the problems that they have? Or they may or may not be creating, with the hoarding of the.
I was hoping that the sitting yesterday, the appearance of the CBN was going to be with the heads of the commercial banks. I was hoping that so there would have been some exchange of information. There would have been maybe claims and counter claims. That was what I was hoping. Again, the House of Reps didn't do a thorough job with all of their noise about forcing him to appear. They were only just able to scratch the surface. I didn't see them really grilling, asking critical questions. The only one that was a bit of a tough question is he didn't even answer it.
No.
Again, the idea of our public officials appearing before the House and going there to say nothing, just appearing for the sake of appearing.
And to think that he ended it with the fact that, noting that there's going to be an investigative committee. Sorry, not an investigative committee. A fact-finding committee will be put together, and they are meant to interface with the CBN to get the facts and report back to the House. And we're not concerned with all of that, anyways. I told you about committees. And
it's okay. The theory of committees, setting up of committees in Nigeria. I'm sure you know the theory already.
It's all right.
When they set up
I heard your conversation with Sage yesterday as regards the 40-man.
Another committee has been set up now, the fact-finding committee.
We'll keep setting up committees until I have money in the bank. I don't have access to the money that I earned and I kept in the bank.
And then the committee will help you solve that, right?
And a committee it's okay. All right, Tess, there's a whole lot to get from this particular story. We also have here commercial banks. There's a lot of stories going around as regards the management or mismanagement thereof of the new notes by the commercial banks, whether there's racketeering happening or not. The anti-graft agencies have stepped into the situation to check what exactly is happening. There are different reports from different banks now. I'm looking at this. Some are saying that what we are getting is that we are trying to ration the payouts. Some of them are saying that we were giving directives that we should not pay out the new notes via the counter. So probably via the ATM, I don't know. So if you're not paying it via the counter, that's over the counter. How else? Probably via the ATM. That's what some of them are saying.
But the ATMs are not even dispensing the new notes.
Are not even dispensing. That's it. All right, and some are saying we came across one of them that couldn't account for almost 4 million naira new notes, and appropriate sanctions have been placed on them. That's the CBN when they went round to the commercial banks, saying a senior CBN official said, "From my experience, CBN should not be blamed, but commercial banks should be blamed for the scarcity. We caught some of them with the new notes in their vaults. We had to compel them to upload it to their machines. Some of them, some of the branches deployed resourceful cash management skills, and they never ran out of cash, while some experienced cash run out. And we came across one of them that couldn't even account for almost 4 million naira new notes that was apportioned to them, and appropriate sanctions have been placed on them." It's a very, very long read. You can get all of the details.
Sandra,
yes.
what comes to mind is this: can we ban the spraying of naira at parties?
At parties, I agree.
Would ever fall down if we do that?
No.
So if you have your money and you want to show how rich you are, you get to the front of the musician, ask him for his account and do a transfer.
Don't ask for it. No, they should just paste. Somebody should hold placard with the account number behind the akori, and they should be transferring to the person.
I've done 5 million. I start to mention my name.
I start to mention.
Then maybe you want to spray with bride or the groom. Ask for the account number to and whatever. So that again, at least that will stop this issue of hawking the naira. And then the banks or the commercial banks that sell it to these hawkers will know that there's no business to do again. Because I remember, there's a time in this Lagos, because again, we keep referring to the factual administration. There was a time that, parties were held all through the night somehow, or at the block roads. We used to hold parties on streets, block roads and all of that. And factual came with the idea that, no, it's not going to happen again. If you want to have your party, go into a public school or probably a hall, go and rent a hall. And we thought it was not going to be possible, the idea of holding parties on the road. But implemented it. When they arrested 2 or 3 people, the whole thing stopped. I'm sure that, they said it's a crime to hawk naira and all of that and all of this thing. If they make it a policy now and they arrest 1 or 2 people spraying naira in parties, the thing will stop automatically. Must we spray money at parties? The way people, recklessly, abuse the naira and nobody cares. If that is going to solve the problem, so let us implement it and see whether the heavens will fall.
All right, thank you very much. Just as you said, it's a very long read. You can get the details on pages 2 and 14 of the Punch newspaper. And let's not forget also that EFCC and ICPC officials will accompany CBN examiners to inspect bank branches over the next 2 weeks to assess full compliance with CBN guidelines that have been given. And what we are getting is that as the CBN Bankers Committee meets, they met on Monday, the governor instructed banks as follows. No bank is authorized to pay out old notes via ATMs or in the banks. No payment of new notes over the counter. Banks are only allowed to release new notes via ATMs. Corporates that require cash should only be given old 100 naira notes and below. Corporates must not be given new notes. It's okay. There's a lot of instructions there. Like I said, it's a very long read, and it's something that we're going to be coming back to later on today. Just stay with us. It's something that's, it's the hot one right now, because you need to see the queues at the ATMs, at the banks. It's almost turning into some sort of chaos. Some people were even fighting. Did you see the videos? People were fighting over, I'm in front. No, you're at my back. No, you're at my back. You're in front. Yeah, it's a problem. All right, more details on pages 2 and 14 of the Punch newspaper. Moving away from the old Naira, new Naira, what we also have on the front page of the Punch newspaper is protests as Ekweremadu and wife appear in court. And that is on page 7 of the Punch newspaper. Very quickly, what we have from that particular report is that the human trafficking case against former Deputy President of the Senate, Ike Ekweremadu, and his wife, Beatrice, resumed in London court on Tuesday. That was yesterday. However, anti and pro Ekweremadu protests were staged in front of the court ahead of the proceedings. So there's a report that there was a gathering of protesters. Some of them were in support of the lawmaker, whilst others were against him.
What was that supposed to be?
What? I don't get it.
What kind of irresponsible behavior is that on this particular
That's
case?
very embarrassing.
Is it a political case?
So you went to go and protest. Somebody is on trial for whether he did wrong or he did not do wrong. Let the courts decide. What's with the
there's a way we just take our own ways of doing things. We take it to other crimes and just go there to embarrass ourselves. How do you go ahead and protest on a case that is not even political? It's a personal thing. It's more of a criminal allegation that the guy is facing, and he has all it takes to defend himself. I'm sure he has the best lawyers defending him as he speaks. So what's the protest supposed to achieve now?
And the system there is supposedly fair, so it's not like it's
not like
a system that you can bribe.
So what's the protest supposed to do? The pro Ekweremadu protest. What are they trying? What statement are they trying to make? Then the anti Ekweremadu protest is that are they trying to jail him whether he's guilty or not?
Well, the details on page 7 of the Punch newspaper. We also have here Labour Party governorship candidates and others boycott Obi's Yola rally. That's on page 8. So what is happening in the Labour Party? I'll get it from the report. Just hold on. Thank you. It's on page 8, and what we have is that the governorship candidate of the Labour Party in Adamawa, that's Umar Mustafa, and his supporters boycotted the campaign rally of the party's presidential candidate. So Obi, Dati Ahmed, Professor Patu Tomi, and others were at Adamawa, and they were received by a former secretary to the government of the Federation, Babachir Lawan. So aside from Lawan and the state chairman of the party, Christopher Nicholas, there were no other prominent party leaders at the airport to receive Peter Obi and his people. So in a statement detailing why he boycotted the Obi rally, Umar Mustafa, that's the governorship candidate in Adamawa State for the Labour Party, he accused the party's leadership and the Labour Party Presidential Campaign Council of sidelining him. And
I'm looking.
Okay, and he also accused the PDP of hijacking the Labour Party in Adamawa State. So, with all of this happening, the governorship candidates and other candidates of the party have agreed not to participate in any of the activities listed for Obi's campaign visit to the state. He, however, said any supporters of the party who choose to attend, they are free to attend and participate. Also, now I'm quoting, "We additionally condemn in no uncertain terms the evident hijack of the Labour Party by the People's Democratic Party in Adamawa State." So that is what is happening with the Labour Party in Adamawa State.
Well, Sandra, the thing is this. We've always talked about the disconnect between Mr. Peter Obi's Presidential Campaign Council
and the Labour Party.
And the Labour Party's existing executives at the state level or even at the local level. You have a situation where there seems to be that gap between them. You have the campaign council, presidential campaign council, working in isolation of the state executives and the existing Labour Party structures. You can remember the case of Ogun State too, the back and forth in Ogun State. Even when he visited Lagos, there were insinuations that the house is not completely in order. I think there's some little problem in Kano State and some other states. But I think that, like people always say, the Labour Party needs to understand that, look, local structures are so very, very important. You know, when we hosted the PDP guys on Ballot 23, I think on Monday, the man said something very instructive to me when I asked him about the Labour Party's impact on or what the PDP hopes to get at the polls during the governorship election this year. He said something about the fact that in Lagos alone there are about 13,000 polling units, over 13,000 polling units. And that look, for you to run an effective campaign, you need to have agents that you can trust. You need to have people on ground to monitor what is happening at those polling units. And I would think that the Labour Party, we've always said it, beyond Mr. Peter Obi, they need to work more on grassroots politics, ensure that they have a proper structure, you know, to put out their message to grassroots. And I think this issue of hijack is a bit surprising to me, but again, it's politics. I'm sure they're going to sort it out.
If you look at it, when we had yes. So when we had an official of the Labour Party joining in, on community platforms some 2 weeks or 3 weeks or so ago, there was something she mentioned is the fact that Labour Party is, they're civil servants, they're workers, but they're not really politicians per se. So, with the emergence of the obedient movement from the Labour Party and the fact that Peter Obi came from the PDP, don't you think that may be where there's that insurge or upsurge of a lot of PDP people or former PDP people, let me put it that way, former PDP people, trying to do what they can in the Labour Party to ensure that, politically, Labour Party is able to stand firm?
A lot of PDP members moved with Peter Obi to the Labour Party.
Yes.
Of course, they had to move with him. And so, you always have a problem between people that are just coming into the party and the existing party structure.
They had issues with Donyo Kukwe being the...
Even Donyo Kukwe in Ogun State, that's why I pointed out the issue of Ogun State, where you had the Labour Party guys who are already on ground, and then, having it difficult to work with the Donyo Kukwe, who they thought was coming from the PDP, and it was like trying to hijack the whole state structure. So that issue is still there for the Labour Party to sort out, across all the states in the country. And like I said, it's politics. I'm sure they'll be able to sort that out.
All right. More details of that on page 8 of the Punch newspaper. Moving on now, we also have here fuel scarcity threatens elections, national security. And that's coming from INEC. I have been waiting to get to this particular story, for us to talk about it, because it's now beyond even the people having access to fuel. There may be some logistic issues that INEC will be going through as they transport materials and staff and ad hoc staff to various locations for the elections,
and even cost too,
the cost, exactly. So what we have here is that the prolonged scarcity of PMS, popularly called petrol, has become a concern for the defense and security of Nigeria. And that is coming from the Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Irabo. And this is also coming as the INEC, as INEC said that the lingering fuel scarcity might hamper the conduct of the 2023 polls if not addressed on time. So there was a meeting that was held at the headquarters of NNPCL. The Chief of Defense Staff was there. And the meeting had all petroleum products marketers, union, regulators, even the IGP was there, officials of the Nigerian Navy, Customs, EFCC, amongst others. They were all there. And this came as NNPC accused oil marketers of being greedy, stressing that they got to know that the cost of petrol had risen to as high as 800 naira per litre in some locations, despite being subsidized and sold at below 170 naira per litre to dealers. Okay, so although the marketers also came up with their own defense, and they also had something to say, but then speaking at the meeting, Irabo told participants that he got the mandate of the president to attend the meeting and speak to them, but then the concern here is at this point now that INEC has come forward, the defense chief has also come forward that this is becoming a serious problem. Do you think that there may be a solution in sight?
You see, simple details, Sandra, that we need here. We're not getting it. The details, just like the issue of the new Naira too. I think the simple question that we should ask the NNPCL is to say, look, how many liters of PMS do we have? For how long can it last us? And if he says, oh, we have enough to last us for the next 3 months, let him give us a figure. And it was just simple for all of these people, the chief of army staff, the head of the EFCC and everybody, to say, okay, take us to the depot where you have these things stored. Or if it's still on the waters, let's go there, visit and see that we have enough truly. So that we don't keep, pointing fingers, to the wrong direction. The issue that we have, Sandra, which a lot of the marketers have highlighted, is that there is a shortfall in supply. The idea of selling at unapproved price did not just happen. It happened because there was scarcity. There was a problem with supply. The NNPC depots didn't have the product, the private depots had it. There was a problem between the major marketers and the independent marketers also getting access to this product. And so what happens simply in a situation of scarcity is that prices are going to go up because people who have it are going to try to make too much money from it. So all NNPC needs to be telling us now is that, look, we have enough. This is the volume of liters we are pushing out every day. This is the way we are distributing it. This is the price that we are distributing. So we know who to hold responsible for this scarcity.
Because at this particular meeting now, the commodity, we're just looking at it from the perspective of the fact that market
up one day and decide to sell at whatever price they want. Something must have happened. Right? I keep saying that. Then do we have enough? Are we pushing enough out in terms of supply?
That's the gas workers told marketers that they had no reason to increase the price of PMS. They have no reason to increase from your own end. Well,
because you remember, there was time Ipman said that the problem is that the independent marketers, apart from the major fillings, okay, if Naira per liter, let's start with that. Then, if NNPC and the major marketers are already selling above 165, 170, the independent marketers already told us that, look, they have to now rely on the major marketers to get their own product, and those ones need answers directly from the NNPCL, and they are not saying anything. And that's why I say there's a lot of conspiracy and hypocrisy going on as we speak.
All right. Even of the Punch newspaper, as regards fuel scarcity threatening the elections, as regards logistics, movement of materials, movement of staff and ad hoc staff, and also cost of purchasing the fuel to. And the major headline on the front page of The Guardian: cash squeeze intensifies, stalls business transactions. And the riders to that, MF reached 4 million naira new notes in Ogun State, knocks commercial banks. Online transfers take days to 10%. Banks reduce ATM withdrawal limits to 5,000 naira. So the fresh riders that we have from this, different from what we have from the Punch, is of course POS merchants rationing the cash, just as Fuhad had also mentioned, and they have increased their charges also, 1,000 naira. And some banks that used to have about 5 ATMs working per time now have just 1 ATM working per time. And tension over scarcity of cash is worsening across the country, with millions of Nigerians being denied access to their own money. Very unfortunate. And now we also need to be careful with transfers, because what we have now is that online transfer disputes seem to be on the increase. And remember that we have always been talking about the fact that the brain drain in the IT, in the banking industry, has been a serious problem as regards online. You're not withdrawing money, then you still also have to be careful when you do your transfers. It's a serious problem. And we're going to see how things will turn out as the days go by. Very unfortunate one, but
I want to just talk about it slightly now. There's this feeling that beyond the sabotage and the frustrations that Nigerians are facing, we are hoping that people are not working somehow to ensure. Now INEC is saying, there was the issue of insecurity that we are thought would threaten the election. Now INEC is even telling you that no, logistics is under threat as we speak. If there's no fuel, if there's no supply and all of that. The same thing with the issue of money. People are not even having access to their own monies and all of that. So, we are hoping that people are not working to ensure that we don't hold this election somehow.
Fuhad.
Yes, I'm with you.
Even with that, just to add to what you're saying, is the fact that that majority of the ad hoc staff that will be working for INEC, they're usually paid in cash. They don't transfer to them, the ad hoc staff. So
most
that's
of
another problem.
the boats that have to move these things to require supply. God knows what will happen during the election. Have election, and we are hoping that we're going to have the election.
God bless Nigeria. More details on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Now we also have here Vice of the Guardian newspaper. Now what the report is saying, or we have riders actually. Security operatives stop rally for Tinubu campaigners in Rivers. APC chieftain chides Rivers governor NAS candidate for not campaigning. State working committee disassociated themselves from a planned rally that was supposed to galvanize support for their presidential and governorship candidates in New Busa in Borgu Council. After police operatives, there's also tension rising among opposition political parties in Rivers following repeated town, and the attack is coming less than 24 hours after the SDP governorship candidate Magnus Abe. That's another issue that's on the floor this morning on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. So internal crisis in APC seems to be blowing even bigger by the day, aside from the whether or not the APC leadership or even at state levels now as regards internal crisis in the APC.
Right. Yeah, sorry, I missed that part. Sorry, network.
Niger State APC.
Oh, okay.
All right. So that's what we have now. Internal crisis is happening there. As regards what is happening there, the statement that we're getting from the publicity secretary is that the rally contravened the unified. See that a lot of security operatives blocked the entrance, preventing APC supporters from accessing the venue. It's an interesting one that's happening there. The disassociation or the dissociation of the APC state of the Tinubu Shetima rally in Niger. And then there's also tension amongst opposition political parties in Rivers 6 of the Guardian newspaper. I'll move on now. I also have here Darie Nyame's release, major setback in Nigeria's, and PDP condemns Tinubu's alleged threat to Governor Emmanuel. So yesterday declared that the alleged threat by the APC staff indicative of how autocratic the former Lagos State governor could be if elected into office. So they are condemning, apologies, just having some problems here. They are condemning in very strong terms the resort to threats by Senator Tinubu, who is trying to transfer his annoyance. And what we have is that Tinubu allegedly, how that's supposed to work.
Yeah, these politicians should not just allow us have drink water and have some peace, I beg.
Helm of the country was a mission accomplished. We'll see after February 25 if that is. That's on page 4. Is you've missed your deadline to name your presidential candidate. Peter side is taunting Wike. So yesterday was January has ended, and we still did not get
Sandra, any. You see my prediction. What did I tell you?
I can't remember.
I told you that they will not name.
I don't even want to be remembering your predictions anymore. So,
I told you that they will not.
Of the G5 of the PDP had mentioned that he would name his presidential preference.
Some of these things,
because there are more important issues.
Important the TV report G5 governors have not said anything.
It's okay. Now, moving on to the Nation newspaper, the major. Excuse me. CBN chief to Nigerians: you won't lose your old notes. You can still pay after the deadline. That's what he's saying. Deadline extension likely. Okay. To read out the quotes, we've already talked a whole lot as regards parties where packages of the new Naira notes, which did not print this money in their house. They got them from somewhere. And the place where
before this new notes,
I'm not surprised. You
don't understand. So why are they surprised that they are selling this
but
new
I'm
notes?
just saying, I'm just all the ones that they have.
And that they are making serious money from it. And they've been making this money and everybody turns eyes away as if it doesn't matter. So why are we surprised?
NNPCL investing 2.6 trillion naira on 70 roads and on the development of 65 roads across the country. and they launched their road intervention scheme. Toast to our problem. Are they moving on? What exactly is happening here? Okay, well, what they're saying, the company launched their road intervention scheme and they have so far fixed 21 roads spanning over 1,000 kilometers to spend 1.96 trillion naira. Thank you very much, but still, please fix the fuel situation.
Sandra, we still need to question ourselves. Again, they might say they can give different kinds of names, tax waiver, this and that. No matter what anybody says, I still want to wonder why the NNPC should be involved in constructing roads. That's not their job. But again, there will always be ways of modeling these things up with different kinds of names and all of that. And then at the bottom of it all is still corruption. By the time you remove everything on top,
they are intervening. It's okay.
Intervening what? They should fix their own issue, which is the supply of fuel. The refineries are there for them to fix. Instead, they are concentrating on fixing roads.
More details on
page 28. And it's still all about corruption. It's still about stealing money.
It's okay. More details on page 28 of the Nation newspaper. Thank you very much. It's something that needs to put some spotlight on it, on why NNPCL has issues, but then they're intervening on road infrastructure development. That's interesting. More details on page 28 of the Nation newspaper. We don't have so much time, so we'll just quickly run through the presidential poll. Tinubu Shetima for Osun on Thursday, Ekiti on Friday. Atiku promises to fight poverty in Sokoto with $10 million. Don't know how. Kwakwanso, I'll end corruption and petrol subsidy. Buhari orders tight security on borders. And that is on page, get more on pages 5 and 28 of the Nation newspaper. All right, so we will be taking a short break at this point now. And then when we come back, we move on to Mainland Focus, where we pick one or two trending stories. And then we open up the phone line for you to be a part of the conversation. But before I go, very, very important, the major headline on the front page of Vanguard newspaper, elections logistics in danger with fuel scarcity. And that's coming from INEC. And I think that's something that we're going to put in some spotlight on when we come back from this break. You're listening to 98.3 Mainland FM, and we are the sound of Lagos.